Oh, good stuff. Well, everybody, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for another special health-focused Tai Chi and Qigong class. I'm delighted to be able to continue our practice with the Chan Se Gong, the Chen style silk reeling. I had this lovely conversation before I started recording today, and then I thought, oh, I should really have recorded that. That would have been good for everyone. But basically what I was saying is, if you want to take your Tai Chi to any height, it's the basics that are going to take you there. And honestly, there's no such thing as anything but basics. Oops, lost you. Sorry about that. My computer decided to start asking me questions. Yes, so if you want to improve your Tai Chi, if you want to become an advanced practitioner or more, basics are the thing. And as I say, there's no such thing but basics. It's all basics. It's just you keep working at it, keep working at it. And actually all of the elegant subtleties, the complexities, the deeper and more tricky stuff, it all just naturally unfolds because you're ripening your skills through basics. So that's what we're going to do today. We have already done silk reeling 1 with single hand and single hand stepping. So today we're going to step into our double hand and double hand stepping. And this is still all part of what's called Chan Se Gong 1. Basically, Chan Se Gong 1 is the movements that you step with, and then Chan Se Gong 2 are movements without steps. Now you can do 1 without steps as well, so if you have limited space, say for example you wanted to practice in your bedroom or your sitting room or a small space, you can do that, but the first series are with steps. The second series are more internal spirals, and so the movements become smaller and smaller and smaller. And that is a good map, if you like, of Tai Chi practice, basic practice in general. When we start, we tend to do big movements, obvious movements, and as we progress, those movements become more internal, that it's like a fractal, like a Christmas tree, and then you take a branch of the Christmas tree and turn it upright and it looks like a Christmas tree, and then you take a branch of that branch and you turn it upright and it looks like a Christmas tree, and so on and so forth. And Tai Chi is like that. So we start, it's easiest to start big, and then as we progress and with many hundreds of repetitions, the spiraling works its way down to the microcosmic level. So again, it's fractal. So what we do on a big scale, we experience on a microscopic scale, and vice versa. So when you look at the Grand Master moving, you'll see he turns like this. I can't even do it because I'm not a master, but he turns and you can't see it. And he's saying, turn 45 degrees, and he does this, and you're going, he didn't move. But he did. It was just so smooth and so subtle because it was an internal movement that you may not see it. And so the strangest thing, I think, is that it's actually, for a beginner, it's very difficult to follow a Grand Master because the Grand Master has it going on internally. You can't necessarily see much of what's going on. And so we start to think that he's just moving his arms and legs about, whereas actually all the movement in Tai Chi comes from center. Whereas those who are not grandmasters yet, who are, still a good bit back on the path, you can see their movements more clearly because they're not as internal, they're not as subtle, and therefore you have an easier chance of following them. But in general, we start big movement and get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so I remember one teacher saying that small movement is better than big movement, and no movement is better than small movement. So if you really want to dig deep and get the best out of your Tai Chi, you want to do standing practice. You want to find stillness. And even when you're absolutely still, you're still breathing, your body is still busy on the inside, pumping the energy around. So it's a hive of activity, but you are completely still in yourself. And when you have practiced that, then when you go to move, you maintain that stillness through movement. So there is your yin and yang, stillness and movement. There is movement within stillness, and there is stillness within movement. So let's begin. Let's take right hand in a fist, please, and left hand straight. Pull back the thumb, bringing the feet together, the hands together, and press forwards. Thank you for joining us. Let's open our stance to about shoulder width and level, and we're going to do a wee bit of four corners. And if you can, do you remember this exercise? It's a plank, it's a kind of seesaw, but you're pivoting from the dantian. So as the hips go back, the upper body comes forwards. And as the upper body goes back, the hips come forwards. Breathe. Just before we started, one of the students here asked me, how are you feeling today? I'm like, yeah, I feel really good. I did a couple of hours of standing practice today, and I haven't dared do that for a while because I've been feeling quite depleted, and I feel good. So standing practice isn't just designed to, well, it's not designed to torture you, though some people feel they struggle with it at first, but it actually does build your energy. And Grandmaster Chan, often he'd be teaching quite punishing hours, really, 6 hours a day. But he would have a break. They would all have a break, and he might have half an hour. And while other people were having cups of tea, he'd take himself off to the side and he would do standing practice. And this wasn't because he was hardcore, though he really is. It was because standing practice refills your cup. It is a way to fill your reservoir and fortify your system. Let's change direction, please. And I definitely feel that. I feel really much more well than I have done in weeks, having done a jolly good stand. So I highly recommend it. Though I'm used to doing standing, so a 2-hour stand for me is normally tough, though it was just lovely today. I really enjoyed it. I didn't notice the time go by at all. But if you're starting from a place of depletion and you want to use standing practice to fill your cup, I would recommend doing something like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you can, so that you're able to let go into it without thinking that it is some kind of stamina and endurance test. If you're perfectly well and healthy, you can really go for it and allow yourself to experience that cusp of endurance. But actually standing practice done correctly, it should just be filling your cup, and if you're in a good enough posture and you're relaxing enough, you actually feel it builds your energy rather than it shouldn't exhaust you. So if you're standing and you're exhausted, you're not listening to your body. You really have to approach it with compassion for yourself. And in that way, it is medicine. Good, so let's come back to center and let's do the second move, which is similar, but this time we remain upright. And breathe. Good. Can you feel the inside of your hips? It's like you're rolling a little marble around. And as you roll, feel for the quality within your hips. Any catches, any sticky places, any bumps or jumps. And the key is to let go through them. Good. All right, let's change direction, please. Now, just like the standing practice, these two exercises you can really take on to very advanced levels. In fact, this is what Grandmaster Chen has thanked for his progress in recent years. And anyone who had seen him like 40 years ago, I'm sure would have gone, he's at the top of his game. But he has just continued to improve. I hadn't seen him for, I thought, 15 years. He said, oh, it's been 10 years since we've seen each other. I'm, oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it was 10 years. And in that time, I couldn't believe it, but I should have. He has improved. I can actually see that he is even better than he was. Not just see his corrections, you know, when he goes to touch you, even just tiny little movements of correction, and all of a sudden you get this blissful, peaceful serenity flow through you. I'd never felt that when he had corrected me before, and yet this time, every time he let go of people after doing corrections, they got this gorgeous smile just lighting up their faces. Even people I'd never seen smile before in 20 years, they were just blissed out with this gorgeous feeling of flow of energy through their bodies. And I experienced it as well. It was really beautiful. So that's a Grandmaster on top of his game. Good. Let's come back to center, please. Ease from your stance. Let's have a little bit of a stretch. So let's stretch out to the sides. And let's just gently twist the waist. This is not Chen style, by the way. This is just me doing what I feel I need. If you like, you can bring your hands in and just do gentle twists. And let's do a double bounce to one side. One, twist again, two. You can draw the fists in towards the chest, double bounce. Keep the knees pointing forwards. One, two, and one, two, one at a time. Good. Because this is my class, yes, I am teaching Chen style, but I can't help it. I go off-piste. I sort of pull in little movements for elsewhere, or just do what I feel I need, and hopefully you get a bit of fun and interest out of it as well. Let's do a little bounce, and we just circle the arms. And I want you to listen and feel into your body. Again, be compassionate to what your body is capable of, what is comfortable. Open and close your chest a little. Good, and change direction. So if you feel it's too much, dial it back. If it's still too much, dial it back. If it gets to the point that you're doing it and just going, nah, it's not for me, then stop. Good. Okay, and rest. So I'd like to do a little opening and closing of the chest, please. Open and close the chest. Okay. Now, there is a move that I haven't done in ages, so much so I'd forgotten it even exists. I'm aware that some of the group have shoulder issues, so I want you to be very careful. Maybe don't do this next one. It's opening and closing the chest, but it's using the arms as well. So this is a white crane opens its wings type movement, where we are opening and closing the chest rather than moving the arms, but the arms move. And let your wrists flop so that they're getting the impact of opening and closing. And then we change direction. So as I say, this might not be the one for you if you have shoulder issues. I'm well aware of that. But can you see that it's my chest going forwards and back, not my arms doing the work? Okay, so now we're going to do two on one side, and 2 on the other, open, close chest, and then 1 on each side, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good, and relax down and just circle your shoulders. Good, let's do a little bit of head and neck work. So we're going to lengthen up through the top of the head, and we're going to draw a little circle with the nose, like a tiny little circle. And breathe and relax. And make that circle into a little bit more of a spiral. So you see the way I'm keeping my head upright. I'm just drawing a circle with my nose, and breathe. Spiraling it out so we're getting a little bit bigger. I just want you to slow it down as you get bigger and feel for the natural, comfortable edges of your movement. Good, and let's change direction, and this time we're going to start big. Nice and slow, breathe, drawing the circle with your nose, and very gently and slowly drawing it back in. Feeling each level, each inward spiral has its own little stretch. And it's funny, you'll get a different stretch going small than you go big. And it's just as valid. And we spiral it all the way back in to center. Well done, and relax down into your belly. Let's lengthen up through the top of the head, and we're just going to very gently turn the head to one side. Deep breath in and relax, breathing out. And we're going to very gently shake the head as if to say no. So you're playing with the boundaries of the stretch. And then keep breathing, nod your head very gently as if to say yes. Feel the stretch in the muscles. Good, return to center on the in-breath. Relax down into your center, deep breath in, lengthen. Turn to the other side, breathing out. Deep breath. And out. And again, shaking your head as if to say no. Nodding your head as if to say yes. Good, back into center, breathing in. Relax down into your belly. Beautiful, well done. Let's ease out of our stance. We're going to do a little bit of leg movement. We've kind of gone up and now we're going back down. So we're going to turn out one foot and step forwards, and we're going to row our boat, shifting forwards and back. Notice the shoulders remain perfectly relaxed. I want you to be a bit lazy. I would argue, in a way, Tai Chi is a lazy martial art, as in we want to use minimum effort for maximum output. And actually, all martial arts are like that. Though we work very hard, we don't want to use excess energy. We want to conserve our energy, and so relax. Less is more. Good. And let's swap over. And smile. When you smile, you release endorphins in your body, in your brain, that flows into your body. Serotonin, melatonin, all the good stuff. And you're getting an extra boost then of energy, and it carries you. Whereas if you do it too seriously, it can be really a drag. You know, you can feel very heavy and everything is hard work. Whereas if you just let your spirit be light, your body is light as well. Good stuff. Okay, I think we're ready to rock. So let's look at the second of the Chan Se Gong moves. And this is designed to help you step forwards. It's a bit like fencing, Western fencing. I'm not sure if you've seen them do this, where they have the foil, I think it's called the foil, their sort of long, thin sword, and they have one arm up, and they're advancing with one leg, the same leg as the arm with the sword. So they're not stepping in the normal way where you're stepping left and then right and left and then right. And that's very similar to what we're doing. There are two ways to do this. So you can step directly forwards. And obviously that's useful if you have a narrow space. So say if you work in a big university and there's a corridor just outside your office and there's never anybody in it. Perfect for silk reeling, that you can walk up the corridor. So if that is the case, then you want this version where you're stepping directly forwards and directly forwards. So for narrow spaces, that's what we do. And for narrow spaces then, when we turn the foot out, we turn to 90 degrees. So we turn the foot out to point to the side. And then we step directly forwards, and we can actually, do you see the way I've turned my front foot in a little bit? So it's not pointing straight forwards. And if you do that with me, do it with me, I'll hitch up my trousers. So we lift the toes and turn, pop the foot down at 90. I'm exaggerating, you just put the foot down. We relax down and step directly forwards, straight forwards, but turn the toes in slightly. And if you sit down into that position, I hope you agree that that's actually quite comfortable. But now if you turn your front foot to point directly forwards, do you feel how it strains the pelvis just a little bit? So we don't want to do that. So we actually allow the toes to slightly turn in, but we think of going forwards. Good, so that's if you're in a corridor or narrow space, or say you're in a huge group doing Tai Chi together, and so if you were to move it all sideways, people would be bouncing off the walls. However, if you have a wide space in front of you, then you can do an alternative method. And in that method, instead of turning to 90 degrees, you turn to 45 degrees. So let's try that together. We lift the toes, turn the body, foot goes down at 45 degrees, and we sit down. And then the difference is with this one, we step a bit wide. So we're not going directly forwards, we're actually going about hip width or shoulder width wide. And in this version, the toes can actually point forwards. Because the back foot isn't turned out so much, you can get a comfortable position in your pelvis, in your joints, with the front toe pointing forwards. And so there are two versions of the same exercise. And actually there's no difference to them, it's just one you have orientated your body a little bit further round, and in the other you've orientated less. But in the second version that I just showed you, then each time you step, you're actually traveling diagonally. You're like a bishop on the chessboard. Whereas with the first version at 90 degrees, you're progressing straight. So sometimes, I must admit, I kind of get the two confused, and even though I might turn to 90 degrees, I still find myself traveling a little bit across the floor. Naughty, that's not good. So be mindful, decide which one you're doing, and then do that. Be careful not to create a hybrid. You want to know where your focus is at and where you're going. However, the arm movements are exactly the same. Okay, so let's just have a little play with the footwork, and then we'll do some arm work together. So I invite you to go to the back of your space, please. And I'm going to hitch up my black and white trousers, and just so that you can see the feet. So check posture, please. We lengthen up through the top of the head, chin slightly down and back, chest relaxing down, shoulders relaxing down, body relaxing down. Take a breath and calm. Calming down and listening behind. Good. Now we're going to lift the right toes and turn to 90 degrees. We're going to do this one first. We can have a play with both so that you can experience it. Release, sit down, belly, hips, knees, and we're going to step the left foot directly forwards with the toes slightly turned in. Now you can't see my toes are turned in because I've stepped directly forwards, but it's a little bit, like 20 degrees turned in maximum. And we're going to feed the full movement. We turn a little bit towards the back foot, we slide into the front foot, we turn a little bit to the front foot and slide into the back foot. So it's like a figure of 8. Turn, slide, turn, slide, turn, slide. Do you see the turn? Slide, turn, slide, turn, slide, turn, slide, turn, slide. Good. So in the first instance, it's quite nice to practice that without stepping, just to get the feel, the quality of the figure of 8. Then when you've got used to that, you can add the step. So we slide forwards, and when we're halfway, we can bring the back foot in and the heels touch. And we keep the weight forwards and turn towards the front. Feed the weight into the back foot, and when you're halfway, which is practically as soon as you start, you can step forwards. Toe slightly turned in. Turn towards the back foot, slide forwards. Sorry, do it again. Slide forwards. When you're halfway, bring the foot in, stay front, turn, feed into the back foot and step. Turn towards the back foot, feed forwards and in, turn towards the front foot, feed back and step. Well done. Okay, so any questions, any comments about that? No? Nothing much coming forward. Okay, good. So there you have it. There is the first step version where you're turning to 90 degrees and the front foot is slightly turned in. You'll notice that it's the same principle as the sideways stepping, that you shift your weight, and when you're halfway, basically when your weight is between your two legs, at that split second, that's when the stepping foot can start to move. So we never want to complete the shift of weight before we step, because that creates a break in the flow. So this is exactly the same as we go forwards. It is as we travel. So we see there's the toe turned in. So you turn towards the back. As you travel forwards, as soon as you're halfway, the foot comes in, the heels can touch, turn. As soon as you're halfway, it's a very subtle movement because your feet are together, but you're shifting from front to back. As soon as you're halfway, you can step. So we don't wait until we fully transferred the weight before we step, just as long as we've gone halfway. And you cannot step with a foot if you're less than halfway. I always think of it like having bonds in something, that if you have over 50%, if you have 51%, you have a monopoly. It's the same. So once you hit 50%, then you can move. While you're at 40% or 49%, you're still you've too much weight. Is that right? No, sort of while you're still at, say, 51%, you can't shift. You have to wait until it's 50-50, and then you can move because the other foot is continuing to load. sorry for drawing that out, but hopefully you get what I mean. Okay, so we've done that 90 degree. Let's have a go at 45 degrees. Yes, Pam, is there a question?
Wouldn't that be more double weighted?
You're
50,
shifting weight
50?
between one foot and the other in order to step. So at some stage you are going to 50-50, but it's a transitory phase. You have to go through 50-50 to go from full to empty.
Right, right.
So it's not that you're sitting in double weightedness, but you have to transition through double weightedness. So the point of double weightedness is the point that you can release one foot and move it. See what I mean?
Yeah, I'm having trouble doing that.
It's
Yeah.
just practice.
Yeah.
All it is practice, yeah. Um, so let's dial it back and we'll go to the sideways version again, just maybe that might be a little clearer. So it's something that's worth taking time over. An awful lot of people, when they first start Tai Chi, they shift their weight completely and then they step. And that's incorrect, because if you shift your weight completely and then you step, you get a stop and a start. So the whole idea with this starting to step as you have just crossed over the cusp of shifting the weight from one side to the other, it means that your foot arrives and you can continue to flow. And especially because it's not just the legs, you want the arms to move with it as well. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm just showing it sideways on so that you can see. So there's my 90 degrees. So I'll show you it correctly as best I can first. So I feed the weight forwards and step, feed the weight back and step, feed the weight forwards and step, feed the weight back and step. Now that is done as I touch the 50% mark, I begin to step. Let me show it done incorrectly now, where I complete my weight transference and then I start to step. Do you see the difference? So when I complete my weight transference, it makes a stop, start, stop, start. And what we want is a continuous flow. And we want the arms and the legs to arrive together at the same time. And the only way we can do that is if we start to step while the arms are moving. So by the time the arms arrive, the feet arrive. So like so. Halfway, arrive, up, halfway, step, down. So the arms can continue to flow, because if the legs stop moving, the arms should also stop moving. This is one of the fundamental principles of Tai Chi that says that if one thing stops, everything must stop. And if one thing moves, everything must move. So the only way we can do that is by beginning our step as we pass the halfway point. And don't be fooled, whether you are doing that or not, you are going through 50-50. 50-50 is part of Tai Chi.
Mhm.
It's just a transition from yin to yang. So
Right,
it's
right.
impossible to leave it out. You're always going to have it. It's just that we don't sit, for the most part, we don't sit 50-50. So very rarely do you experience horse stance 50-50. You know, you tend to be shifting from one to the other, but there is always that transitory moment where we are actually 50-50. We can't leave it out. Okay, so let's have a go, just to remind ourselves and have a play with that idea. Let's go sideways for a second. So if we go over to one side, we can lengthen up, relax down, And we're going to step with the heel, that's Chen style, and relax. So it's just a touch and relax. Please don't put a lot of, tension into your foot. Just heel leads, relax, shift. Now, as you shift, do it nice and slowly, feed across, and as soon as you hit halfway, try and get that other foot to come in. Touch the foot, relax the foot down. Now at this stage, do you see I've put my foot down, but I've not shifted any weight. It's empty, yeah? So I put the foot down, and now this is more subtle because the feet are together, but again, they're going from full to empty. So there will be a halfway stage. So we feed the weight across, and as soon as you're halfway, so when you're 50-50, that's when you begin to step. And so by the time the foot lands, that's when the weight has fully transferred onto the supporting leg. Again, feed the weight across. When we're halfway, then we can step in. So as the foot arrives in, the weight arrives into the supporting leg. We transfer, and when we're halfway, we can release to step. Feed halfway, we begin to move, and we arrive together. So the weight arrives and the foot arrives same time. Shift the weight, halfway, we can release and step. So again, my weight doesn't arrive fully in my supporting leg until my stepping foot touches the ground. Feed across, arrive, feed across, release. Okay, do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do. I probably do it and just don't realize it. I always say, you can't move without, moving most of your weight onto that supporting leg, but
Yeah.
I'm probably, you have to have some weight on that other leg as you're
Yeah.
transitioning over.
Yeah, it is one of these things. I've had one of my colleagues talks about it, that basically as soon as you start to move, you're going to hit that halfway point a lot sooner than you might think, because it takes milliseconds, to transfer the weight. So basically, as soon as you start to shift your weight, as soon as you can get the other foot off the ground, bring it in, because you can't lift it off the ground if it has more than 50%.
Right.
So nature determines that when you're at the halfway point, come in. So the question is not to sort of go, am I 50% yet and then I can move, because you can't move it if you're less, if you've still got more than 50% on that foot. But rather the problem is if people leave the foot down for too long. So when they've already arrived full on one side, they only start to move the foot in. So it's a question of shifting the foot in sooner rather than later, and that way you continue flow. But it just takes practice, and the thing is just to not stress about it, but be aware of the weight transferring. And I think that in itself, it does it. And then just lots and lots and lots of practice. And that's what silk reeling is all about. It's not just drilling through a bunch of moves endlessly for the sake of drilling through a bunch of moves endlessly. It gives us the tools to keep listening, keep experiencing, keep diving into the body with our awareness, to be mindfully moving and moving with consciousness rather than just going through the motions and going, oh, well, I must be at 50%. You might not be. You might be leaving your foot late. You can't move your foot early because it's still, if it's got more than 50%, it can't move. You can't lift a foot that's weighted unless you're jumping, then you can. Okay. Good. So let's have a go now, folks, please, at our stepping forwards. So this is the same as we've just done a little bit ago. And we'll do it at 45 degrees. So what I'd like you to do is come over to one side of your space now. And we're going to be traveling to the opposite corner. So we lengthen up. Relax down, calm down, And this time we're going to lift the right toes and we're going to turn the body and just put the foot down at 45 degrees. So it's going to feel a lot less than you just did. So facing the corner. We release belly, hips and knees, and now we're going to step a little bit wide. And this time the foot can point directly forwards. However, if you have hip issues, if you have knee issues, you can play with it. You can turn the toes in ever so slightly if you need. But please do not turn your toes out. It's either straight or slightly in. And let's have a go at this. So we're going to turn towards the back leg and feed the weight forwards and turn towards the front leg and feed the weight back. So it's the same figure of 8. Turn and feed forwards and turn and feed back. Turn, feed forwards. Do you feel how turning gives your feet a lovely massage? It's shifting the weight distribution across the feet. Good. So now we're going to start to step. So again, as we feed, let's do it slowly, please, so you have a chance to feel it. We feed forwards, and as soon as you can, get that back foot in. Don't snatch it, just start to travel, put it down, feed the weight back into it. And when you're halfway, release and step. Turn towards the back, halfway, come in, the weight is left, turn, into the right. As soon as you can, release the front foot and step. Turn to the back, halfway, and in, your weight is still forwards. Turn towards the front, shifting into the back foot, and as soon as you can, step the front foot forwards. Good, and rest. So it's not about speeding up in order to, as soon as you can, step forwards. It's as soon as you've got the weight off the foot, you can step it. You can't step it if it's still got weight on it, if it's still got more than 50% of your weight on it. But as soon as you're between your 2 feet, you can continue the move, and there you can step. So you're continuing to shift your weight into your back foot as you're stepping forwards and planting. Then we turn, we feed forwards, and when we're halfway, 50-50, we can bring it in. We're still on the front foot, we turn, and as we feed back, we're between the feet, so as soon as I can, I release and step. So it's the as soon as you can, but without speeding up, without shifting gear in your speed, so that you have a continuous flow. It's not easy at first, but with practice it will get easier. And actually, when we add the arms, it is easier. Normally, for this silk reeling, I start with the arms, but I hope that you agree that by focusing on the legs, we are fortifying the foundation, and it'll make it easier. So just to finish with, folks, I don't know where the time has gone. Just to finish, we will look at the arms for this move. So whether you're turned to 90 degrees or 45 degrees, the arm movements are exactly the same. So let me show you. Say 45. So when we begin the setup, the front palm faces up and the back palm faces down. We turn towards the back and the palms flip over. So now the back hand is facing up, the front hand is facing down, and I feed towards the front and turn. Roll the hands over, feed towards the back and turn. Forwards and turn. Back and turn. So if I show you from the side and I come a wee bit closer, forwards, turn, back, hands in front of shoulders and turn, forwards and turn, back and turn. So as we shift the weight, the arms tighten into their twist, and as we twist or turn the body, the arms release and roll. The same, as I shift my weight, my arms are tightening into their twists, and as I turn the body, the hands release from their twists. So you're either traveling upwards as you turn, or twisting as we slide across, or downwards as you turn, and twisting the arms as we slide across. Do you want to try with me? We'll give it a go. Okay, so we lengthen up, relax down. Let's try on the left side. So we're going to lift the left toes and turn out. Let's go to 45 degrees. Put the foot down, sit down. Right palm faces up, left palm faces down, and we step shoulder width. Sit down. Ready? We turn towards the back, flip the hands over. So left palm up, right palm down. Feet forwards. So the right thumb is turned all the way in. The left little finger edge is turned all the way up. Then we release, let the arms roll as we turn, and feed the weight back. Hands in front of shoulders, right palm facing up, left palm facing out. Turn, release the arms down. Feet forwards, and turn. Feed back, and turn. Forwards, and turn. Feed back, and turn. Forwards, back. And you'd really, I think it would be good to do a few hundred of these just to get the feeling of it, and then start walking with it. So, you know, give yourself a break, practice the elements of a move, and only then try to put it all together. So that's your homework. Do a couple of hundred of these. You might not do them all in one go, maybe over a week. And then, for the icing on the cake, you can add the legs. Legs go with the arms, so we feed forwards when we're halfway, we come in, we stay forwards, roll up, we feed back. When we're halfway, you can release the front foot and step. Release down, halfway, come in, turn, halfway, we can release and step. Turn, halfway, and in, and rest. Well done. How did it feel? Whew. So you did very well. Let's wind down for today, folks. So really we were looking at the foundation of that practice and looking at the variations of steps. It can be a little confusing if you've tended only ever to do it one way, and then in class, because of the positioning of the room, everyone's doing it differently. So it's useful to practice both ways, even though it is an orientation issue rather than a change in the actual movement. Orientation is important. If you're not sure where you're going or your spatial awareness, that's not good. And you do not want to be ploughing into people as you do it in a group. So it's quite nice to practice those two variations. I've had people telling me that the 90-degree one is harder on their joints. They're doing it wrong if that's the case. Just remember, if you're doing 90 degrees, turn your front toes in a bit. It's really rather that you've turned in the room rather than you've changed the choreography. It's exactly the same. It's just one is to get you so you don't bounce off corridor walls, and the other allows a bit of a drift on the diagonal. Let's go down to the legs, give them a wee bit of love. I can't tell you how good I feel having done the standing practice today. And I'm a little bit embarrassed that I haven't been doing it every day. Though sometimes when you really aren't feeling well, it is time to rest. So everything equates to the yin yang. And sometimes, you know, in your career, you'll be going at it full hammer and tongs. And other times, if you're not well, actually a fallow period is exactly what is needed. So I have been honouring that and just being resting. But having done that bit of standing today, oh my goodness, I'm going to get back into standing because it makes such a difference. So I encourage you to do a few minutes standing every day as well and see if you can build up your reservoir, get more energy, and that means that after training you'll feel more, you'll have more juice, and you'll be able to recharge your batteries. If you don't ever add energy to your batteries, they will flatten. So standing is really good. Okay, let's finish off please with a little bounce. We boing boing boing. Let all your wobbly bits go wobbly. Wrists wobble wobble wobble. And relax down. So that's Bai Bing Xiao, 100 ailments go away. Let's stand and breathe and feel into the body. Gather to center. Feel the touch of your hands, the warmth of your hands flowing into your dandian, into center. And feel your energy is stronger. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your practice. I hope you got something to take away and play with, and I look forward to seeing you next time.